Meisner Summer Acting Program at the Maggie Flanigan Studio is an intensive 6-week training program for professional actors. Christine Lee, a student currently enrolled in the program, discusses with Katie the Meisner Summer Intensive, the Meisner Technique, and how the community at the studio has helped her to become a better actor.
Christine, thank you for being here with me today. I know this is a little different than how we usually work these videos, but I really appreciate you taking the time, especially since you're one of our second-year students who started back in the summer intensive. So just some basic questions to start with. What did you think it meant to train as an actor before you started the summer intensive and 2-year program at Maggie Flanigan Studio?
Oh gosh, well, I've taken like some courses and classes before Maggie, but I guess like you hear this like kind of across the board that people weren't prepared to how actually intensive it was going to be, how rough, how trying it is, but in the best way. I always wanted to share my humanity with the world, and I thought I was doing enough with these other courses and classes. I'm not, knocking them or anything. I've definitely gotten a lot from them. But with Maggie, it really like zones in on that need to provide the world with such a raw view of what it means to be human. And I didn't know something like that existed before Maggie's. And so I would say that is something that distinguishes this program from something else, from another program.
Mm-hmm. And is this your first experience with the Meisner Technique, or some of those classes or programs you had been in before, or had you studied it?
This is my first experience with the Meisner Technique.
How is it different than what you expected?
Well, there was a lot of trust involved with the teacher. There was a very strong sense of community that I wasn't really feeling in my other acting classes. Just the technique in general was very comprehensive. It starts from one thing that seemingly just like you don't understand, but you start to understand the more progress you make. And I think that's a very rewarding journey, as opposed to other things. It's just kind of like a clump here, a clump here, a clump there. And it's less comprehensive, it's less integral. And I think something that, Maggie kind of does, it pushes you. And it also requires you to give something back.
And now that you're obviously further along in the training, is there something about the Meisner Intensive that really resonates with you most? It could be a couple things, but just some maybe standout things that really resonate with you as an actor and creator.
Well, the Meisner training revolves around listening, and really just taking in the other person. And I feel like so many people now, like even outside the acting world, are so self-absorbed in that way that they just don't feel the need to have the capacity to just drink in the other person. And I think that's especially like now in this day and age, people are so obsessed with, their own needs and their own wants. And I think this work would be really great, like outside of just like the acting experience anyway. But sorry, what was the question again? I went on a tangent.
It's on track. You were talking about the listening. So what about the Meisner Technique really resonates with you as like an actor, an artist, creator? Yeah.
Right. So something that the Meisner Technique specifically, I feel like really treasures instincts and intuition in a way that other program or other techniques don't. I feel like other techniques might be a little bit more I don't like technical feels like the wrong word, but intuitive feels like a very spot on word for Meisner. And so it really challenges you to get information from another person in a way that isn't like just technical and scientific. Like you have to have a very personal point of view towards them. And I think that's a very important thing about the Meisner Technique that a lot of actors who haven't trained in Meisner don't have.
Mm. And you mentioned why you sought out more training, because you felt like maybe the other things weren't going as deep as you were looking for. But what happened during the 6-week summer intensive that led you to enroll in the 2-year program? Again, it might be more than one thing, but whatever, sticks out in your mind now, almost 2 years later.
The first thing, I remember feeling very unlocked after the summer intensive, even though it was only 6 weeks. It really pushed me to come to know a certain part of myself that was very jarring for me, and it was like such a profound experience that I've never gotten to really see in my work in any other studio before. I had to do an activity, and I didn't know, like, I was a very defensive person, and I still kind of am, but the summer intensive kind of really brought that to light, and I didn't really understand how defensive as a person I was being. And I was able to express very deep devastation. And I've learned that I have such a capacity for sadness and of pain. And not only that, but I loved putting that into my art. And so that was something I feel like really stuck out to me in the summer intensive.
Mm. And, you're wrapping up here your 2 years. This pandemic has, shaken timelines up a little bit, but how do you feel now as an actor, an artist, a creator? Where do you see the differences in your work? You talked a little bit about your capacity as an artist just previously, but where do you feel a huge difference? Do you feel a little bit of a difference? Do you just feel like who you were as a person is now just highlighted?
I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty different person now. As an actor, it's easy to kind of label yourself as like this sensitive, open person just because you're interested in acting. So that's how I kind of viewed myself before, the 2 years plus the summer intensive. But now, like, not only do I kind of have a better idea of where I'm lacking in terms of, vulnerability, and that just comes with humanity. I feel like just being a human, like, everybody has to have defenses, and I don't think even artists really acknowledge that. But me before Maggie versus me now, I feel like better equipped to be an artist or be an actor, and it doesn't even mean to be in the industry. I just feel I have a better idea of what acting is, and I know better where I fall in the grand scheme of things. And I think that's a very empowering thing to have.
Mm. And you talked a little bit earlier about the community at the studio. So how would you say the community aspect has transformed your experience starting in the summer all the way through now when you're almost wrapping up?
So in the summer, it was definitely an experience to not only like show very personal parts of myself to these, once strangers, but also to see everybody's like dark or extreme or personal places they would go to. So that in itself is like a very bonding experience. And then throughout the program, I feel like it's a small studio, so it's easy to know everybody, and it's very like easy to become familiar. Everyone wants you to do your best. There's no cattiness, there's no jealousy. If there's very much a sense of like, if you do well, then we all do well. And the faculty here, the teachers are so invested in their students, like in such a passionate, personal way that you can feel it. Like even now, like Charlie is still having Zoom sessions with us just to like check in, and he goes out of his way to let us know that he's there for us. And I think that's a very great like thing for a teacher to have. There are so many studios that are huge, just like conglomerates where so many actors are made. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like Maggie in specific is not only a studio or like a business, it's also a place where people can feel at home.
And how would you describe Charlie as a teacher?
tough. Tough. Ever changing. I feel like I've only known him for like 2.5 years, but I feel like he's very receptive to the needs of his students and he's willing to adapt to them. He's funny. He's a talented, such an insightful artist, teaching artist and artist. And he just has such a personal mission on this planet that you can just feel whenever he talks about teaching. And you don't really get that a lot. And that's how I would describe Charlie.
Mm. And how are you feeling in the midst of all this pandemic and being stuck inside and not being able to be at the studio?
It's hard. I didn't realize how much I actually missed the studio or needed that studio until, this whole thing happened. That studio like provided a structure. It provided like so much acceptance and community in a place like New York where normally it's hard to find that. And it's just not the same. Like I talked to some people like through Facebook and WhatsApp, but seeing their faces like twice a week to make artwork, like we're like a collective mission, is such it's a sense of belonging that just you can fulfill your soul. And I think I miss it so much. Like I'm starting to get like an emotional just thinking about it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just like reminds you that things like that are irreplaceable.
And what are you most excited to get back to when we're back being able to be in the physical space?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Like I feel like when I actually do, it's going to be so overwhelming. Like I won't even understand what's happening. Wow, I don't know. I think it's just the feeling of being there, the feeling of familiarity, the feeling of, knowing what you're meant to do in this life. Just, it provides you with such a sense of identity, like in some ways. And I think, that's, I mean, obviously the work and obviously, like creating things that, stretch yourself as an artist. But, I don't know, just, it's more than that, I think.
And what are you most excited about post 2-year program? So you're really close to finishing up. We'll be finishing up soon once we get back. So what are you looking forward to most about really being able to, be done with the program and pursuing your career as an actor, creator, writer, director, whatever you get into?
Well, it's very daunting. I've had like some taste here and there. I've been on several different projects. And I think like without Maggie, I would have had a more difficult time for sure. But after Maggie, I think I'm excited about just like learning more about the industry, as many negative things that I hear about it. But I'm excited to provide who I am and what I've learned from the program to stories. And I know that can sound pretty idealistic, especially in an economic system that is just so based on making money. But I'm just excited to meet like-minded people and collaborate with them in a way that just creates revolutionary work.
And it always takes a big level of commitment to commit to, even a summer intensive program. There's a lot of programs out there, but a 2-year program as well. So now more than ever, there's always been that stress of time, finances, am I doing the right thing committing to this? Can I take 2 years? So what would you say to someone who's maybe on the fence and now, more than ever, given our current situation, maybe moving to New York, they're weary of, what would you say to that person who's on the fence about training, maybe thinking, oh, I could do without it, or now's not the right time?
I think this program serves those the best who really deep down feel like they have something to offer humanity in terms of showing things that aren't usually seen when you're just walking down the street or even in the office place. This program is for people who consider themselves true artists and not people who just want to become famous. It's definitely, you learn about the craft of acting here. You learn how to act. And if that's your mission in life, I think that no matter what, if you take this program, if you end up wanting to become an actor, if you don't want to become an actor or a director or whatever, like it's still always going to be a super rich thing that no one I know has ever regretted taking. It spills into your personal life and spiritual life and who you are as a person. And there's no way, I don't think, that you come out of this program worse than before. Like it's just such an enriching program that I can't imagine not taking something like this.
And what would you say, you spoke about this a little in the beginning, what makes Maggie Flanigan Studio different than maybe the other places that you trained or studied? Again, no discredit to them, but what was different about our studio than all the other places for you?
Definitely community. Definitely their focus on what it means to be an actor. Versus whatever the industry has shown what being an actor is. The devotion from the teachers, like I definitely have relationships with teachers outside of the studio, but there's a different kind of respect and admiration I have for the teachers here. And you feel safe talking to them. They're very, they have their walls down in terms of what they want to provide to you. Like they make it very clear they want to provide for you. And I think that and also just like the program itself, like teaching, like learning Meisner in the way that it was originally, like very closely how originally it was taught. It's different because you reach a new length of who you like, of the, not intensity of emotion, like that's like so bad to say, but like it makes you really go to the places that you've been repressing all your life. And I don't really see that much in other acting programs I've been in.
And you mentioned how daunting this business can be.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how you're feeling about pursuing life as an artist now. Of course, this is a time where there's a lot of fear and scarcity, and but I think we're also kind of learning how important those things are. We're all turning to books and plays and films and television. So how do you feel about taking on that role for people in the future?
I'm excited to tell stories. Like I just want to be a vessel for people to relate to, or just to see things about society that they've never seen before. I mean, that's like, the reason, that's basically the reason why I want to be an actor, to help tell a story that will inspire people to do good in the world. And I think, just that being said, like that's what I want to do with my life. So, whatever entering the industry means or looks like, I just know that intrinsically this is what I want to do.
Great. And anything else you want to share with us today?
I guess like in terms of just like the shutdown in New York City, it's hard to be inspired, I feel like, at this time and age. But I just try to remind myself that the purpose that you set, that is just so intrinsic to you, is never going to go away. So even if you feel like you'll never do anything again, or like everything is pointless, what you're meant to do is eventually just going to happen, and once this goes away, you're going to go back on track.
I agree. Thank you, Christine. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Learn more about the 2020 Summer Acting Program and the professional training that the Maggie Flanigan Studio provides by visiting the studio website and by reading online reviews. Actors who are interested in enrolling with the studio should apply online and call the studio at 917-789-1599 with specific questions.